VR now allows you to sell your experiences to others. Which memories would you put up for sale? The time I went to a paranormal circus. It was fantastic. A red and black tent popped up in the mall parking lot overnight and advertised a weekend-long paranormal circus. I couldn't find anyone to go with me, so I went by myself. It was so much fun. They had zombie nurses running the snack stand, light-up creepy masks and costumes for sale. Everyone was dressed like dark steampunk. When they opened the gates to get into the main tent, we had to go through an area with open cages to signify the monsters had been let out or something. I got directed to my seat by a lady, and as I walked down the corridor to the main tent, a man with underbite fangs and a jungle cannibal-style costume started chasing after me with a chainsaw. Haha. Hey, that's one way to get people in. When I got there, I had semi-front row seating, not right at the stage, but the row behind those, right on the walkway near the action and face to face with the performers. Chainsaw Dude apparently liked me because he jumped on the seat next to mine and yelled out the show was starting. There were nicely dressed vampires handing out light-up cups full of slushies and bags of cotton candy. You know, the good stuff. Then a hooded dude with a demon's voice came on stage and announced that if anyone there was scared of the dark to leave then and there. Well, with that the show began, and a tiny clown in blood-stained clothes came on the stage. The rest of the show was amazing. Scares, stunts, girls in spiked boxes escaping, people in boxes being set on fire, creepy mimes, people being volunteered to perform questionable acts. At one point one guy was doing flips on this huge spinning rod in the air and almost fell twice. I'll admit, I screamed. 11 tents would go back again, but it was a one-time random thing in our small town. I had to put my childhood pup to sleep when I was in 6th grade. A few months later I had a vivid dream playing with him and having as much fun as possible because I knew he had to leave again soon. It was a great way to say goodbye. There'd probably be a market for sex and virginity losses. My favorite band had me get up and play drums with them. I was like 15 and I pretty much nailed it. As a musician, it's a once-in-a-lifetime that everyone dreams of. I'd sell a 2-set of memories with specific order to be played in. The first would be me watching my mom die to cancer, to show the lowest my life has ever gotten, and the second would be me and my girlfriend spending our first day together in our apartment, from the first time we opened the door until we slept, just to show that no matter how hard it gets, it always gets better. My dad telling me how proud of me he is. This is something lots of people need to experience but never will. That massive shit I did back in college. Will that memory then be removed from my brain? Because in that case I'm going to record the 1.5 years I spent in literal hell, aka British boarding school, and smash the disc into little bits and then burn the pieces. Putting someone else through the experience of not having a single body part that hasn't been groped or grabbed against your will, and hearing the taunts and heckling 13 years later. Worse still, believing them even though you don't want to. Of knowing what it's like for your legs to be held so you can't get away while someone else shoves their fingers into you through your underwear. At least all will be quiet soon. Parents, teach your children the importance of being rude, of saying no, of speaking out when you're uncomfortable whether or not it might hurt the other person's feelings. Even more importantly, demonstrate it in your life. I grew up watching my mother agree to stuff that made her really unhappy to please other people, so I feared saying no. I was told to always look on the bright side, so I didn't know how to complain, how to express unhappiness. I would sell a typical day of me walking through my city. It would allow people to see what life is like from the perspective of a dwarf. You'd get to see how it feels when everyone and everything towers over you, and experience how inaccessible so many places are, and of course, how much unwanted attention you get from strangers. The photographs taken of you, the pointing, staring and comments. Maybe schools could use it to help kids empathize with people who are different. The video game career experience. All the marketing material for this experience would make it sound fun. Talking about how you can live your dream job through VR, creating awesome games for people all around the world. You start playing the experience. For the first few hours it's bliss and everything seems great. Then after the first few hours something seems off. Your bosses are mentally abusive. Work conditions decline. Your estimates are cut in half and deadlines are impossible to hit. Your community bashes you, sends you death threats, and flames you for decisions that were made above your head in which you have zero input. I once saw a parrot that imitated human sex noises in 2 distinct voices. I'd share that one for free because it was hilarious. Probably scary memories. With all the respect of the victims of the last events. A shooting I experienced in Mexico between cartels and Mexican Marines where I jumped outside the car and hid under the truck on the scorching pavement. Bullets zipping though and the pickup vibrating by all the chaos. You could feel the sandcat moving with each high-caliber bullet impact. It was an scary experience, filled with adrenaline and something I morbidly enjoy telling. One time I was cliff jumping and hell yeah, it was like 7 or 8 meters but I did rolls and such things. It was really painful at the beginning, skeptical smiley face, but after hours it was awesome. Every jump was speed, excitement, spinning and winning. To be in my POV in this moment could be worth like $10. Snorkeling in Hanauma Bay in Hawaii. Initially, my wife and I went with the intent of staying an hour or 2, having a picnic while we dried off, then hiking up Diamond Head. I felt like a kid again looking at all the pretty fish. My wife got out first and I just did not want to stop. We decided to come back again on one of our last days and spend all day there. Damn, that was a good day. The day I, a grown-ass adult man, hid in the back corner of a gas station parking lot, leaning against the rear wheel of my car, crying as softly as I could to myself for 5 to 10 minutes. It won't sell well, but I'll at least have a handy reference of how lonely, isolated, sad, and pathetic I felt at that time and many others besides. But that one stands out as a low point among low points. So it's the one that gets used. Some people have never been there, never will be, and as a result, I don't believe they can ever understand what it's like. It's not the fault they have people who love and support them, nor is it the fault that, as a result, they haven't had that first-hand experience, but now they can at least see what it's like. This moment in time is the beginning to the movie Strange Days. I just want a demo of the Married with Kids life so I can decide if I want it or not. For an educational purpose. All my memories of being abused so that others may learn what the signs are, to better understand how to escape before it gets dangerous to. I sat in a perfect temperature natural hot spring in the mountains in Japan at midnight, drinking sake, listening to the river behind me. The steam was pulled off the surface of the water by a slow, cool breeze and above me you could see 1,000 stars through the gaps in the trees. Not a single sound of anything man-made could be heard nor seen from this spot, as if it was absolutely timeless, utterly relaxing. I nearly fell asleep sitting there, head pillowed from behind on a folded towel. Swimming with seals was exactly as cool as you would imagine it to be. Bro, asked Bin Laden, being around seals isn't fun. Dying and coming back to life after 4 minutes of being clinically deceased. Truly an experience. My first DMT trip and I would buy it from myself so I could remember it better. Some of the bad ones. To give people the opportunity to understand what it is like to be on the receiving end. Probably combat-related trauma. I'm good without it. Figure there is probably some Halo-playing dumbshit who thinks it would be cool to experience real-life combat without having to actually enlist. Have at it, bro. That time I got to babysit 3 several-week-old kittens for a weekend. They were so cuddly and adorable. When my daughter was 3, dressed in a snow-white costume watering the flowers in our garden and talking to the flowers. My overall best memory. The only thing I would care to remember when I die. It brings tears to my eyes just by mentioning it. My dreams. Last night I befriended a serial killer and just evaded being murdered the whole dream. Get your popcorn. Sex with Op's mom, obviously. My first memory. I was less than 2 years old back in India. My uncle came to my village. I packed all my stuff from the daycare center and ran towards our house screaming Mera Mama uncle from the mother's side, a guy my uncle is here. I'd like for people to see where I grew up and experience how it looked in rural India 90s. Plus I'd like to revisit everything once in a while because a lot has changed in that exact place. Birth. I've seen more than 100 bands live. I'd probably share those. The hug I got from Mr. Rogers. For horror, the time when I was a little drunk and a lot lazy, and decided to float home instead of walking. I lived in a tiny island on the Atlantic coast, and was really familiar with the waterway from swimming all day, and nighttime boating. I hopped in, and the current started taking me towards my house. All good, but then it was eerily quiet, and the plankton glowed a blue-green as the water was agitated, and the lights faded. Every fish in the waterway left a giant glowing trail behind it. I couldn't climb out before I got to my house, because all the piers are covered in barnacles, and you pull in ladders when you're not swimming so they don't get barnacles too. I have no clue how long it took, but it was too long. It was like having an hour-long panic attack. All I could think of was, "Sharks feed at night, you idiot." I sat next to Quentin Tarantino in a theater at one of the first screenings of the Edgar Wright movie The World's End, and for the subsequent Q&A with Wright, Pegg and Frost. He was very animatedly laughing and loving it the entire time. As a movie dork, that was a pretty once-in-a-lifetime experience. The day I met my kitty, Luna, she passed away a year ago now, but I still cherish that moment deeply. It would be awesome if someone else could feel how happy I felt when it happened. It was a one-in-a-lifetime experience. I told this story recently, but when I was 10 years old my parents made help out back to clear out the weeds that had taken over our backyard. It was going to take a while because how crazy it was, but I was taking even longer to help because I was so distracted by the cute puppy our next door neighbor had. I found out that his parents were going to take him back to the shelter because their son wasn't taking good care of him like he promised. They offered to sell him to me for $20 and I had that saved up. So I went back and forth begging my parents if we could get him. They finally caved and he became our. I named him Snoopy and have never been as happy as I was that day. I was an only child so I looked so much forward to having a dog to play with and go on adventures with. It's definitely my favorite memory, because he meant too much to me in the almost 17 years he was a part of my life. Here is the first picture I have of us together, where you can see on my face just how happy and excited I was. I feel that people would want to experience a happy memory like that, and it would also be a way to help keep Snoopy's memory alive. I think there'd be a real market for sporting victories. The rush of winning a big race game in the midst of the total agony of giving every last ounce of effort is a unique euphoria. I think people would pay handsomely to experience that. Or the opposite. Like if I was Bill Buckner, I would sell my Miss Grounder memory and people would be like, damn, that did take a weird hop. All the times I banged 10 out of 10 super hot chicks. People will quickly ask for a refund when they get just a black screen. Hiking the Appalachian Trail. My cat pawing at my face and touching her nose to mine in the morning so I would wake up and play with her. Gives me the warm fuzzies every time. I was with a girlfriend at those impossible-to-win claw arcades. I had one last token and she really wanted a teddy bear. I actually pulled one out. I have never and never will top this moment in my life. The feeling of hearing the words "your cancer is gone." I met this girl when we were both youth camp counselors over one summer. I asked her out after the first week was over. We went out a few times. Then we took a picnic up a nearby canyon and just kind of lazed about on a big old blanket from my parents' house. I decided it was time for a DTR, define the relationship. I asked her, hey, so I'm in, like, total likeage with you here. How are you feeling? I'm in total likeage with you, too. She became my girlfriend. I would share that moment when she said she liked me back using the same awkward, dorky language I used. Then we just laid on the blanket, held hands, and stared at the clouds together for about an hour. Pure bliss. We've now been married for 11 years and have 4 amazing kids together and are currently building our dream house. Can I VR into your whole life, please? Holding my 2-pound, preemie daughter for the first time. Want a fresh perspective on life? That'll give you one. I'd share the best concert I ever played with my old band. It was a super fun night and we got really good reception. We were never even moderately big, but that was the biggest we felt. I'm not one to live in the past, but man, I crave that feeling every now and then. Having a snowball fight at the North Pole while standing next to nuclear submarine. Attending a cookout atop the same submarine while traversing the Panama Canal. Scuba diving in Guam. Snow skiing Black Diamonds in Jackson Hole. Navy will buy the first 2 for advertising. Not as wild as some of the others, but I'd sell the memory of a summer I had when I was 16. My parents were away and I had the apartment to myself for an entire summer. There were 2 huge groups of friends I hung out with, among whom were a few real, solid buddies that I'd known my whole life and a few others less permanent but very cool and funny individuals. My best friend and I dated a pair of best friends. And while I liked my girl enough, I wasn't head over heels, and so had fun without any of the ensuing drama. She felt more or less the same way. The weekends were basically 48 hours of non-stop partying and hanging out. Feels like I saw the sunrise every day. Not a care in the world. I think about it a lot now, decades later. I've got a great family and a good job, but man, do I miss that freedom.